let's talk about context-wise. Where's this question typically coming from, so that we can understand how to make the decision. So I'm going to give you two different directions so that you can figure out which one best fits you. And if you can understand that, then it'll be easier for you to be like, oh, okay, cool. Now's the best time. Or wait a minute, nope, maybe later would be a better time.
Turning dreams into reality.
Hey, what is up? How are you doing? My name is Joseph Ngugi. I'm a physical therapist, one of the co-founders of Pre-PT Grind, where we help you get into physical therapy school without wasting time or money. I want to do a quick training for you, for those of you that are applying this cycle, or at least considering applying right now this cycle. And it's titled, Should I Apply to PT School this cycle or wait until next year? And I'm doing this after we recently did it on our Instagram page. We did a much longer live stream, myself and Casey, my business partner, and it was really cool. And a lot of students found a lot of value in it. So I figured, you know what? Since it brought so much value on IG, I wanted to make sure that I did a training for you guys here that was a lot shorter and cleaner so that it could help you get closer to your dream of becoming a physical therapist. And if you find value in this, of course, be sure to like, subscribe, share this out. I'm telling you right now, there's other pre-PT friends that you have that would benefit from what you're learning to level yourself up. So be sure to share it on your IG, like whatever platforms you use, just share it, tag your people, tag us, and we'll share your story or whatever it is. So nonetheless, let's dive in. And then of course, if you have any questions, be sure to reach out to us or comment below. We'll see it, but let's dive in. So before, should I apply to PT school this cycle or should I wait until next cycle? So this is one of the biggest questions that we've been getting recently, and we usually get it about this time because what happens is not long after the application cycle starts, aka PTCast opens, which it did on June 15th of this year, right? Shortly after PTCast opens, students start to freak out because all of a sudden it's real. It's no longer this thing that I'm planning for. It's no longer this thing that's a month away, 2 months away, 6 months away. It's like, yo, we're here, we're in it. And so one of our students in our actually it was a handful of our students in our coaching program on one of our most recent coaching calls basically asked this question. And it was cool because, one of our coaches was able to kind of dive in and break it down. And then Casey and I were like, yo, let's just talk about it live on Instagram because I'm sure other students that are not being coached by our team would love to hear this. So basically, should I apply now or later? And so let's talk about context-wise. Where's this question typically coming from, so that we can understand how to make the decision. So I'm going to give you two different directions so that you can figure out which one best fits you. And if you can understand that, then it'll be easier for you to be like, oh, okay, cool. Now's the best time, or wait a minute, nope, maybe later would be a better time. So the two categories are number one, like I'm asking that question because of anxiety and fear, right? So basically I feel like I won't be ready. And the second reason is because I know objectively I am not ready. Those are two different reasons, right? They feel the same sort of, right? But the first one is because I feel like I'm not ready. And the second one is because objectively I'm not ready. So let's talk about the feel one. The feel one is when the application cycle started, which I know that by the time this is posted and by the time that you're seeing this, it'll be some time, after PTCast opens for this cycle, but I think this is still relevant to understand. So feeling wise is when I have this like feeling of overwhelm, right? This feeling of stress, this feeling of anxiety of like, man, I didn't expect this. I didn't know it was going to be this many moving parts. I didn't know that PTCast was going to take this long. I don't fully understand PTCast. Oh wait, I still have to do this. Oh wait. Okay. So that's just more so stress and anxiety. And honestly, a lot of students feel that because it's just a lot, right? It's a lot being thrown at you at once. And so that's a feeling, but just because you're feeling that doesn't mean that you're not going to be ready to apply this cycle. And I'll explain why here in just a few moments, but let's go to the objective one, right? And let me know if this makes sense. So for those of y'all that are watching right now, just let me know. For those of y'all watching this on YouTube, just let me know in the comment section below, say, hey, this actually makes sense. Just let us know so that when we're looking at it or when our team's looking at it, they can at least let us know whether or not this clicked. And if it didn't, then just let us know what other questions you have so that we can make sure that this is as clear as possible for you. So the other path is objective, right? So objective means that now I'm actually looking at my stats. I'm looking at my numbers. I recognize that there's certain things that are not going to qualify me for most of the schools that I'm applying to, right? And these are things that if I was given another year of, prior to applying, I would actually be able to drastically change them. So for example, I'm only going to use one. So for example, your prerequisite GPA, right? So for your GPA, you recognize, wait a minute, shoot, I have like 3 C's and a D with my prereqs. And I know that if I were to retake those prereqs, they would drastically increase my prerequisite GPA, especially with schools that replace my grade. So what I mean by that is schools that take the highest the highest grade. If I take chemistry twice, they take the highest one out of the 2, right? And so I'm now recognizing that just objectively, if I were to wait another year, I would actually be giving myself an amazing chance of getting into a program. Also, because I recognize that schools have certain fears, right? Schools have the fear that they might let you into their program and you won't make it through. They have fears that you'll make it into their program and you won't fit the culture, or you won't be able to pass your board exam afterwards. And so they're looking at some of these things like your GPA, your GRE score, to kind of help them sort of determine whether you have a high chance of making it all the way through, because that's a big deal for them. Because if most of their students don't make it through, it starts to create some problems, right? And now they're not a school that people want to go to, all this stuff that's pretty obvious. So my question is, like, is your feeling, if you are feeling that, is it because it's a feeling or is it because it's objective, right? Because if it's objective, then you're actually having a smart realization and you might be in a position where next year makes more sense, right? But if it's a feeling, then ask yourself, where's that feeling coming from? Is it just the overwhelm? Okay, cool. What am I overwhelmed by? Well, it's PT cast. Okay, cool. Like, what about PT cast? Well, it's so many different things. Okay, cool. Can I break up my time and, have each day dedicated 1 hour to different things on my PT cast, platform? Okay, maybe that helps, right? So just like, if it's a feeling, break it up. So here's why I say that it's important to dissect between the two, because it could cost you one of 2 things. It could either cost you a cycle where you apply and get rejected from all the schools you apply to, or it could actually cost you an entire year that you shouldn't have had to waste, because you could have actually applied and done well the first time, but you felt like you had to wait another year, and it now costs you a year, of not being a physical therapist, which now obviously that's just a year removed from the dream that you have, right? And so, quick story, last year, we had a student, this is also why this is important to understand, but we had a student in our coaching program, the Accepted System, who got into the program and instantly felt what some of you might be feeling, right? Which is that feeling of like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm gonna, get in. Okay, cool. So what we did is we actually got objective, right? Because the way we coach students is we have to start with what's already there. So we have to be objective. We have to be objective so that we can basically start to assume or get into the minds of the school and start to determine what they're gonna see and what they're gonna think when they see your application. That's how we make smart decisions, right? And then we build everything out from there. So when we looked at everything objectively, we were like, yo, like, you actually have a really good chance of getting in this cycle, which was last year, right? And so she was like, oh, really? But I don't feel ready. I was like, so we looked at the stats together and the objective stuff. And we're like, yo, like, all we have to do is this, pick the right schools, make sure we do this, and this, and you'll have a good chance. Now, here's the thing. She was planning, like, prior to starting to work with us, and this is why this is important for you to understand. She was actually planning on applying a year later, which is actually this cycle. So she would have been applying to PT school this year, hoping to get in and whatnot. And so because she understood that it was more of a feeling for her, and the objective stuff was actually aligning with the fact that she was actually pretty close to being ready to apply to PT school, she ended up applying last cycle, right? And lo and behold, she got into PT school. And as we speak, she's starting physical therapy school right now. So she would have lost an entire year if she did not look at the 2, if she did not dissect whether it was a feeling or objective, right? Because if it's objective, that's just being smart. Like, when students tell me, yeah, I know that my GPA doesn't match with any of the schools I'm applying to. I know that my GRE score is not what the schools want. I know this, I'm just gonna go for it. And I'm like, yo, that's like the highest level of guesswork ever. And it just sets you up for so much like overwhelm and stress and disappointment unnecessarily. And the reality is, schools actually tell you that there's certain things they're actually looking for. And so if a school tells you what they want and they're the ones making the decisions, then like we have to respect that because they're the ones making the choice, right? And they're choosing out of a slew of different students. They are selecting out of hundreds of other pre-PTs. And so that's not to overwhelm you. That's not to intimidate you. That's just to get you to realize, like we have to be smart about this, but we also have to figure out, where is that coming from? Is it the feeling or is it objective? If it's objective, cool. Let's figure out how those things are, like what those next steps should be. And if it's a feeling, cool. Let's dissect why that is so that we can keep moving forward and applying this year if that is the best move for you. So that's why I did this. I hope this was helpful. But when we had that conversation on Instagram Live, that was an eye opener for a lot of students because they didn't know how to divide the two. And so I figured, hey, this is going to be helpful for you too. So if you enjoy this, like I said, please share this out because this is just not how we're taught as students. And I think not understanding this really does cost a lot of students their ability to ever get into PT school because they don't understand the difference. And also one last thing, when you're objective about it and you understand that it's actually a smart move to apply the following cycle, create a game plan of how you're going to execute on it. Because the worst thing that could happen is objectively what needs to happen, and then a year later, you're still in the same position. That's one of the worst things that can happen because now you just wasted a year and you knew what you needed to do. And of course, if you need help, obviously be resourceful, right? You have us, you have other people, right? Like be resourceful. But that's the one thing I want you to kind of just like understand is that just being objective is not enough. Let's actually build a game plan of how you're going to do it so that a year from now, you're able to put yourself in a position where you can get into one of your dream schools. That's it. So also, if you want to access a training that we recently released, that it's under 10 minutes long. I think it's 9 minutes and 51 seconds. And it's basically the blueprint of how any student can get into physical therapy school, regardless of having a low GPA, struggling with their GRE scores, getting rejected in the past, or fearing future rejection. If you want to learn how to do it, we literally did a training in less than 10 minutes of the exact blueprint that we have used to help over 500 students get into PT school, regardless of where they were at. And literally, we had students that had GPAs as low as a 1.7 when they started working with us. So if you want to see that, then go to rejectionproofprept.com and we got you. Have an amazing rest of your day. Much love. We'll see you on the next training. Bye.